Tonight, the world is watching. 10 months after the death of a black man under the knee of a white police officer, the trial begins. Plus 18,000 children in federal detention facilities.
Our objective is to take a different approach from the last administration.
The latest on the humanitarian crisis on the southern border. And
only girls should be playing in girls' sports.
South Dakota's Republican governor is refusing to sign a bill banning transgender athletes from women's sports. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
All eyes on Minnesota for the Derek Chauvin murder trial. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Jenna Browder. Thank you for joining us. Well, the trial begins nearly a year after the death of a black man under the knee of a former white police officer.
George Floyd's death set off protests and a national reckoning on race. And now the question of criminality puts Derek Chauvin on trial, charged with second-degree murder, manslaughter, and third-degree murder. CBN senior national affairs correspondent Heather Sells has been following today's trial. Heather?
Yeah, right, John and Jenna. This trial has the attention of much of the nation, and it started out today front and center with disturbing video captured by a bystander in Minneapolis who witnessed Floyd's arrest.
The fact that you guys aren't checking his pulse and doing compressions if he needs that.
Prosecutors were quick to show jurors bystander video that showed the final minutes of George Floyd's life. Several bystanders called again and again for Officer Chauvin to get up and provide medical care for Floyd. Prosecutor Jerry Blackwell argued that putting Floyd in the prone position for over 9 minutes went against Minneapolis Police Department training and merely for a misdemeanor offense, a $20 counterfeit bill.
You will learn from witnesses we will call that the police officers could have written him a ticket and let the court sort it out.
Blackwell highlighted the length of time that Officer Chauvin had Floyd pinned, 9 minutes and 29 seconds, and argued that he used lethal force that was unnecessary.
The use of force must be evaluated from one moment to the next moment, from moment to moment. What may be reasonable in the first minute may not be reasonable in the second minute.
Common sense tells you that there are always two sides to a story.
But defense attorney Eric Nelson told a different story, arguing that Floyd was under the influence and difficult to constrain.
You will see that 3 Minneapolis police officers could not overcome the strength of Mr. Floyd. Mr. Chauvin stands 5'9", 140 pounds. Mr. Floyd is 6'3", weighs 223 pounds.
Nelson argued that once in the police car, Floyd resisted, rocking the car back and forth before Chauvin took him out. He also argued that the arrest happened in a high-crime area and that a large crowd gathered that police believed was a threat. Ultimately, Nelson argued the cause of Floyd's death is debatable and that he had drugs, methamphetamines, and fentanyl in his system at the time of death.
John and Jenna, 14 jurors, 8 white and 6 black or multiracial, will hear this case, which is expected to last up to 4 weeks. There is concern that the trial could spark violent protests, and that is why some 100 Minnesota National Guard members are stationed around the Hennepin County Government Center.
All right, thank you, Heather. A trial in a case that's indeed sparked a lot of attention. More than 18,000. That's the number of unaccompanied minors who crossed the border alone and are now in U.S. custody.
Republican lawmakers are blaming the surge on the Biden administration. Some of them visited the border over the weekend to see the situation firsthand. Here now for more on this, CBN News Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson. Abigail?
Well, Jenna, Republican senators say that President Biden's weak immigration policies are to blame for the surge of people coming into the country at the border, and they believe that these people want to get caught.
This path is marked so that people will know where to go to find a detention facility.
Senator Lindsey Graham claims Biden's policies are incentivizing human traffickers.
There's a loophole in our law that incentivizes people to bring 6-year-old children with them because Biden administration has changed the law so if you got a 6-year-old, you can't be deported.
There are many families currently benefiting from the policy.
My message to the American public is not to be afraid of human life, especially because they're not criminals.
CBN News senior Washington correspondent Tara Mergener recently visited a Texas charity that helps families with young children brought to them by Border Patrol.
And that's what concerns me is the kids, the babies. They need milk, they need things, and so being able to provide them enough water, enough food, enough things that a mom will need.
A bipartisan group of House members led by Congresswoman Veronica Escobar also traveled to the border this weekend and are calling on the administration to look at the root cause of why people leave their home country.
We are all getting tired of talking about this every single year and not seeing a true approach to addressing the root causes. But for the first time, I have hope because we have a White House and we have a vice president dedicated to getting to the bottom of this.
With reports showing the surge could continue for the next 7 months, the White House plans to do this.
Expediting processing and opening up additional shelters, but also reinstituting policies like the Central American Minors Program to encourage young people to apply in their country and not make that treacherous journey.
Now, the White House is blaming the previous administration for the current situation at the border, while Republicans argue Biden should not have rescinded some of Trump's policies, like constructing a border wall. John, Jenna.
And here with us now is Republican Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne of Texas. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being with us. I know you're down at the border right now with more than a dozen other Republican lawmakers. Tell us what you're seeing.
It's a humanity crisis down here is what I'm seeing. We got to visit the Donna facility this morning, which normally should hold no more than 250 people, has over 4,700 people in it now. The facilities are cramped. Kids are on top of one another, literally lined up on multiple cots on the floor. It is a crisis down here. By law, the children are only allowed to stay in these facilities for 72 hours. They've been here, some of them, for almost 2 weeks, with no end in sight. And it's tragic what's happening down here.
Clearly, the system is overwhelmed, and that might be the understatement. Congresswoman Van Dyne, have you been able to meet with Border Patrol agents or other law enforcement officials? I wonder what they're telling you.
We have. We have talked to them, and they are very direct that they feel like they are in reactionary mode, that, under the Trump administration, we were able to get a handle on what was happening by allowing people to apply for asylum in Mexico or the first safe country they came in instead of having this massive surge onto our border. And what we've seen under this current Biden administration is all of those solutions that worked under the last administration, the Trump administration, have been removed. The numbers that they are seeing right now are unlike they have ever seen before. It's higher than they've ever seen before. It's 350% worse than this time last year.
You visited a housing location at a convention center for immigrant teens. What can you tell us about that experience?
Where I saw yesterday was at the Dallas Convention Center, the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center, where they had 3.5 days to prepare a facility. And within 5 days, the facility was at capacity with 2,300 kids. No TVs, no recreation, no sunlight. They were looking, the people who are responsible for taking care of them, the career workers are doing their best with the resources that they have. But again, they're playing reactionary mode. And when you talk to CBB, when you talk to the folks who are, in the Dallas facility, what they tell you that we are enriching and empowering drug cartels and human smugglers every day we continue with this, because they get paid for every body they deliver live at the border. So that's all we are doing with this new policy is enriching and empowering drug smugglers, human smugglers, and drug cartels. And it is heartbreaking to see.
Congresswoman Van Dyne of Texas, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be with us today.
Thank you very much.
Well, meanwhile, tonight some good news in the fight against COVID-19. A real-world study shows the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are at 90% effective, and even just one dose of either proves 80% effective in preventing infections from the virus. This, according to the CDC. The U.S. is now vaccinating between 2 to 3 million people a day. Today, Dr. Anthony Fauci urged Americans to hang on.
It will be a race between the vaccine and what's going on with the dynamics of the outbreak, and we can win this by just hanging in there a bit longer.
Here with us now is Hans Nickel, political reporter with Axios. Hans, let's start there with the coronavirus. You know, there's talk about a vaccine passport. Do you think that this is the way of the future? And if so, what about those who refuse to get the vaccine?
That's really the big question, right? And you have a states' right issue on whether or not governors like DeSantis can sort of throw this out the window, the idea of a national passport that says you've been vaccinated. The White House hasn't quite told us where they are on this issue. They've hinted that they're for it. Joe Biden has kind of suggested he's for it. But right now they're saying it's up to the CDC on how it will actually be formulated. Now, the White House says they'll have input in it, but they haven't totally come down and said, we're 100% for vaccines. This is one way to get back to normal. They're sort of talking around the edges of it, and they're leaving, frankly, some political space for themselves.
Yep. Hans, on infrastructure, Axios ran a headline today, moderate Democrats buck tax hikes. Does this mean Democrats are going to have to make some concessions here if they don't have the support of moderates like Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema?
Yeah, potentially. Or they just spend a lot of money through deficit spending on infrastructure, right? That's always the option here. So here are the contours of where we think this conversation is going. On Wednesday, the president plans to announce part of his infrastructure package. Think of this as roads, bridges, tunnels, ports. The other half of the infrastructure package is going to be more about what at the White House they call human infrastructure. So that's health care, that's money for caregivers. Let's set that aside for a second. The first bucket, which is about $2 trillion, according to some of our reporting out there, $2 trillion for infrastructure over 10 years. The White House says that some of that will be paid for. Now, they never said how much will be paid for and how they'll actually do it. But what we expect on Wednesday is at least some indication of where the White House wants to get revenues. And that's increasing the corporate rate, that's increasing the personal rate, at least for the highest income earners, of those making more or households more than $400,000. It's some changes around the estate tax. It's a little bit on capital gains. This is just, I want to stress, the beginning of a process, the beginning of a negotiation. And as you've indicated, there are a lot of Democrats, you know, we know Manchin and Sinema in the Senate, but House Democrats as well are saying, actually not so fast. There may not be consensus to raise that much money.
Hans, we only have about 30 seconds left. And on immigration, you heard our interview with lawmaker Beth Van Dyne. There's growing frustration also among journalists. I wonder what the feeling is there at Axios among you and some of your colleagues.
Well, we obviously would want to get more access. We'd want to see what's like inside the Border Patrol facilities, not the HHS facilities, which is what the White House took everyone down to. My colleague Steph Kite has done some great work getting pictures of those facilities out into the public from Congressman Cuellar, who wanted them out there. So obviously we'd like to see, we'd like more freedom and to report and to go inside, but there's some good reporting coming out on the conditions inside those facilities right now.
All right, Hans Nichols with Axios, we appreciate your time this evening. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hans.
You bet.
And coming up, controversy and a Cinderella story at the big dance after Oral Roberts' historic run in this year's March Madness.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully.
Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back. Well, tonight the dance is over after a Cinderella story run for Oral Roberts' University's men's basketball team. The 15-seed team from Tulsa, Oklahoma, lost to Arkansas Saturday after advancing to the Sweet 16 for the second time in the school's history. This after the Golden Eagles pulled off the upset of the NCAA men's tournament, beating 2-seed Ohio State in overtime before besting 7-seed Florida. The March Madness sparking interest in admissions and attracting controversy after USA Today op-ed condemned the Christian University over the school's LGBT policy.
Joining us now is William Wilson, president of Oral Roberts University. Dr. Wilson, welcome to Faith Nation. We want to, of course, talk to you about the historic run, but first, Dr. Wilson, if we could get you to weigh in on something else that you ran into, which is cancel culture. Dr. Wilson, what does it say about society today that a Christian school's code of conduct like ORU's can become the focus of an NCAA basketball tournament rather than the competition on the court?
Well, it is unfortunate, of course. We didn't want to take away from the student athletes who gave so much to be in the tourney and did such a great job. Our whole coaching staff, our student body, of course, was excited to be there. You know, really, when you track it down, it was only one or two people that wrote articles, and then other people sort of piled on and joined. But the response from the Christian community was fantastic in defending ORU. Bottom line is we believe in the Bible at Oral Roberts University. We have our views on these issues are nothing new. We've been around for over 50 years, and we're committed to having a culture and an ethos at ORU grounded in the Word of God and one that gives our students the very best chance for success. So we're grateful, we're thankful. We don't expect everybody to agree with us. There's room in America for diverse opinions. We accept that, and we appreciate people respecting our opinion and not being religiously discriminate against us.
Well, the men's Golden Eagles, they fell short of moving to the Elite Eight, denied by a last-minute three-pointer in the final seconds of the game against Arkansas. No doubt, a tough loss. Still, the entire ORU community must feel so proud. Tell us about this season.
Well, of course, we were within 2 inches of being in the Elite Eight, a great shot at the end of the game that almost went in. You know, at ORU, we're not defined by winning or losing a basketball game. We're much deeper culture than that. And we're grateful for the opportunity to use the platform that God gave us at the Sweet 16 to glorify Him. For your viewers that watched us during the journey of the Sweet 16, you know that our coach and our players consistently gave God the glory and used their platform to give God praise and thanks through it all. And we're very proud of that. That's what we teach them to do. And we are thankful for the culture and ethos of this university, which is whole person education.
Well, Dr. Wilson, we really appreciate all that you did to make time for us. We know it's been a busy season, and congratulations on busting up so many brackets.
Yeah, it was a fun run. We're so delighted. We appreciate the exposure around the world. Our Golden Eagles are fantastic. We're looking forward to next year, getting to that Elite Eight and beyond. And we're developing quite a thing here in our basketball team, and we're very excited about it.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, conservative backlash, how the fallout over a transgender bill veto has some questioning whether the profile of a rising star in the Republican Party has lost some of her shine.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to cbnnewschannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Tonight, South Dakota's Republican-led legislature is overriding GOP Governor Kristi Noem's veto after her refusal to sign a bill banning transgender athletes from competing in sports for women.
Before today's vote, CBN's David Brody asked the Republican governor whether she sent the bill back to Republican lawmakers in South Dakota after corporate pressure.
If this bill was just a K through 12 bill, you would sign it, but the problem is the college component here, because the NCAA may sue the state or maybe take their business elsewhere.
Only girls should be playing in girls' sports. That's not up for dispute. My goal is really to protect our kids, make sure that we don't have boys playing in girls' sports at the K-12 level, and then also at the collegiate level, go fight a battle that we can win.
Joining us now is Tony Perkins, president of the Family Research Council. Tony, welcome back to Faith Nation. Today, the South Dakota legislature voted to override Governor Noem's veto of the Women's Sports Fairness Bill. Critics are accusing her of bowing to corporate pressure by not signing the bill. Tony, what really happened there?
Well, John, I think that is fairly accurate. When you look at what's happened in other states where you've had Mississippi, you've had Idaho, you've had Arkansas, all signing bills very similar in structure and style as the bill that passed the South Dakota legislature. And the governor saying initially was actually for it, but we saw the same thing last year. Big business leaned in on another bill that had advanced through the South Dakota House pertaining to surgeries, transgender surgeries for minors. So there's evidence there that would suggest that the governor is being influenced by the tentacles of big business.
Tony, let's talk about China. You and the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom have condemned China's treatment of the Uyghur Muslims, and now China is sanctioning you and Gail Manchin, Senator Manchin's wife, for your work. Is that a badge of honor almost?
Well, it shows that I think the Chinese Communist Party is becoming very sensitive to the international focus on their brutal treatment of their own citizens. Look, the curtain has been pulled back on what China is doing. A lot of this came as a result of the previous administration, the Trump administration, putting such a focus, an intense focus on international religious freedom. Of course, the commission has been speaking out about China's treatment of its own citizens, in particular the Uyghur Muslims. But the reality is the international community now is looking upon what China is doing and has spoken out, uniformly. And so I think China's trying to save face here by striking back at those who are helping pull back the curtain.
Technically, Tony, what do these Chinese sanctions against you mean for protecting religious freedom around the world?
I don't know. Maybe I can't shop at Walmart where most of the things are made in China. I'm not sure. I'm certainly not planning on going to China anytime soon. The sanctions essentially say I cannot go to Hong Kong, I cannot go to China, and individuals in China cannot do business with me. So not quite sure the practical implications of this. Again, wasn't on my trip list to go to China. In fact, it should be noted that China has refused to allow the commission to come into China to personally observe religious freedom conditions in that country.
Now, red flag for sure. All right, Tony Perkins, president of Family Research Council, thank you so much. Good to see you this Monday.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Jen and John. Good to be with you.
Coming up, a rousing reminder that all life has value. Coming to a screen near you.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Welcome to Studio 5 Uncut. This is our opportunity to share extended conversations with some of the great guests we've had on Studio 5.
You can't go anywhere on the planet and not see the impact of gospel music on popular culture.
Now, you're a comedian and a Christian. You know, why is that such a baffle?
Being an artist who is Christian and an artist who's in hip-hop culture, I'm trying to find my own sound.
Studio 5 Uncut. Next.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Finally tonight, the 1973 Supreme Court decision to legalize abortion continues to divide the country. But a new film is bringing facts to light.
That's right, Jenna. The director of the film, Roe v. Wade, said the purpose of the movie is to lay out the facts both for people who are pro-life and pro-choice.
We will hear arguments in Roe against Wade. You may proceed.
If you really want to know how abortion became legal in our country, I will tell you the true story.
Loeb, who also stars in the picture, says he was shocked by the facts surrounding the case and says he hopes to shock viewers as well. Roe v. Wade hits streaming platforms this Friday. Jenna, sure to be a talker for those who see it.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm sure a lot of people will go see it. It's a flashpoint in our culture.
Certainly.
All right, that's going to do it for Faith Nation.
We'll see you again tomorrow.